Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Thursday, May 9th. Prices of BTC currently over 6,000. Hell yeah, guys, we made it. Um, first week of May, it was a bit of struggle, but looks like prices finally kicked over 6,000 and almost hit 6,099 on this candle wick right here, as you can see. Many exchanges went over 6,100. But on a positive note, we didn't just have a big, fake out wick that goes to the top, but then candle closes way at the bottom. We actually had a very successful climb all the way into 6,000, and we're still holding this region for almost 9 hours or so. Okay, so very positive sign on the BTC front. Okay, so Next, um, next area to watch is probably something like this, where this area is probably going to get retested. I wouldn't be surprised if candles sort of break under it, kind of like this, and then sweep on under, and then try to push back up. We've kind of seen this over and over again. Whenever we encounter these higher high levels, we hit it a couple times, like these and these, and then we finally break through it like this, right? So resistance right here, broken, come back down, um, you know, pretty much tested as support, but bleed down just a little bit deeper, just to get people scared and then push on through. Candles like this right here also help create liquidity because you stop out these people who think that, hey, this area needs to hold because this was previously resistance. And so I'm just going to put my stop here, okay, somewhere in the middle. And these are the people usually the first to get liquidated because they don't understand that, you know, when there's going to be a engineered liquidity, they're going to be looking for the same thing that you're looking at, which is the most susceptible area to get people to stop out. Well, it's not going to be here. Rather, it's going to be in this region right here, maybe even a little bit deeper. Stop out everyone in this region, and then push back up to higher highs. Okay. So keep an eye on that. In our community, we are in some very successful trades, especially in BTC. We got in around 5,700 or late 5,600s. So if we map it out from here to here, currently up a good 6% or so. Okay, very positive sign on the BTC front. Let's see how Ether is doing. Actually, let me go to some higher time frames before I sort of check that out. Even on the 4-hour chart, I wanted to show that we did have this big 4-hour candle, somewhat of a toppy candle. Wouldn't necessarily say this looks like an evening star or anything, um, but this one right here, if it gets really bearish, it could be a bearish engulfing on the 4-hour, which obviously wouldn't be of any surprise because after we've had a big run up like this, at least on the TD sequential, I'm pretty sure this is well exhausted. Let's check that out, right? Um, okay. On the 4-hour front, I guess we're doing decent on the TD sequential on the 4-hour. Um, Probably on the 1-hour, it's a little extreme. Yeah, so on the 1-hour, I mean, we topped off, at what, 14, 15, 16, 17 candles. So 17 green candles in a row, at least as per the TD, right? So definitely exhaustion coming in. Probably a retest needs to be had, like I stated, at this level. All right, let's take a look at the daily and see how that looks. So here's the thing on the daily, this parallel channel, ascending broadening wedge, however you want to look at it, has been successfully broken. We now need to ensure that we close above this level, right? Even if we close as is, very positive sign. Um, that would imply that we're going to keep reaching higher and higher at this area that we've spoken about, anywhere between 61, 6,300, all the way up to the top where we dropped off around 6,500. Okay, so let me pull up this chart right here and sort of show that a little bit. So This chart actually shows, more of a broadening wedge right here than the parallel channel that I showed earlier. And this one was broken very successfully too. Now, the big supply um, that we've spoken about is actually, this is kind of weird. I think I moved this accidentally. This is down here, and it stretches up a little bit higher. So like that, that's where the supply starts coming in, okay? And you could see that we've already touched the bottom of the supply, okay? Technically, even this region right here, down here, was also supply, okay? But for the most part, if we are truly to take, um, the key order block that really just dumped us off, it would really just be this little area right here if we took it from the daily perspective. Okay, this is really the last green candle that we had before we just dumped off, right? Kind of like how we did the OB right here. Okay, you could see that is currently around the region of 6,400 all the way to 6,535. Um, I think for the most part, it's okay for us to state that we've already entered supply and are moving through it or trying to move through it as best we can in this region right here. Okay, so this wick right here poking up is of no surprise that we're hitting supply. And the fact that we didn't get sharply just rejected, I think is a very positive sign in my opinion. All right, let's turn on the volume on that. Um, and I stated earlier, many times that as per the volume profile, let me turn that on in a second. Um, in terms of pivots, at first, we've exceeded that R1. R5 will take us all the way to about 93, 9400 over here. But again, the R2 is truly the next one that we need to reach towards, which again lines up perfectly with the top of this supply right here. Okay, so let's turn that off and turn on the VPVR. This is where things get interesting, right? I'd stated that, once we sort of get over this hump right here, which was the only remaining supply that we had from this region up here, once we get over this hump, guys, it's open air until this area. So it's no surprise that once we got over it, it only took us 2 days to retest this area of support, and boom, 3 days to climb right through it. Okay, so it's pretty healthy jump. I see some consistent volume down here. Now, you're probably assuming that, hey, I see the volume actually going down, so isn't that a bad sign? Well, not necessarily, okay? It just means that it takes less volume to move through all this supply, meaning that the bulls actually have to absorb less BTC on the way up because there may actually not be that much supply, which could be indicative of the fact that we may not need to be torpedoed down from here. Technically, if we break up through this or grind through this fairly easily, then it's, in my opinion, at least open sailing till 7,500 and then 8,000 and then 10,000. Those would be the levels to watch. Okay. So daily chart looks good, 4 hour looks good, 1 hour looks a little bit exhausted. So price may pull back to high 5900s. Keep an eye on that. All right, let's take a look at Ether. A little disappointed that Ethereum hasn't even budged an inch, but I did do an analysis in my channel, Cryptosomniac channel, and I stated that the alts themselves are actually struggling because BTC has taken the throne and sort of given people the required gains, right? Which is that BTC is not allowing other alts to move because it's absorbing a majority of the market cap. It's forcing people to essentially abandon their alts and jump into BTC because BTC is actually moving at a steady pace. So it gives people comfort not only knowing the fact that they're in the King Daddy BTC, but also that BTC is giving them consistent gains. Okay, so it's no surprise that alts like even Ethereum and LTC aren't budging just yet. Okay, however, I don't think this is going to be the case for forever, at least, and even for an extended period. I think both LTC and Ethereum and even BCH are due for a fairly substantial move. At least over here, we're seeing some higher lows posted. I see like a symmetrical triangle being created. LTC just has to grind through this area right here, which is a decent amount of resistance on the way up. From here, starting 76 all the way through about $82. Really a decent amount of resistance, and then after that, other than 86 right here, there's really nothing in the middle till 100. So I expect LTC to sort of bounce decently, maybe at this middle channel again, and then sharply move on up. Okay. Volume in LTC is dwindling, and that makes sense because a symmetrical triangle is being created. I would probably say a breakout should ensue at some point, but again, I'm not quite sure. But luckily, we did sort of diversify our risk and hop into BTC at the right time. Making our nice consistent 6% gain with it, as I mentioned earlier. Here's BCH. Same thing with BCH, guys. I mean, prices are tightening in this level right here. You could see this line right here is sort of your top of your triangle, and then even if you drew it something like this, this creates that ascending triangle right here. Prices are tightening. I bet volume is dwindling too. Volume is pretty much decreased, and I would say it's due for a breakout. It's just really appalling that we haven't seen a breakout with it with BCH, Ethereum, and LTC. So I do think it's going to be happening soon. Let's take a look at some other alts real quick. So ADA has pretty much dropped off. I mean, it's kind of not really surprising because while Bitcoin took off yesterday, a majority of the alts suffered. At least, Ethereum, Litecoin, and BCH held their position, but Cardano and all these other alts declined in their BTC value. I mean, technically, so did BCH, Ethereum, and Litecoin too. Probably because people are feeling more and more comfortable with Bitcoin, essentially mooning, right? So no surprise that ADA dropped off. XLM is actually in some, key dangerous areas. And I wanted to point this out too. Even though they're holding their dollar values, things look very critical on the XLM front too. Here it is. After it broke this, critical support, there's really nothing left for XLM except way down here. Maybe around, anywhere between 850 all the way down to 750 is your last bit of support. Okay, so if you're thinking about picking up XLM at some low Satoshi levels, that would be the region. Okay, so I'm going to map that out for you just so you have that in hand for the foreseeable future. Okay. EOS is one that I've been sort of paying close attention to. Let's take a look at EOS Bitcoin. So same thing with EOS, right? I mean, yes, it dropped off in Satoshi value, no surprise. But the EOS USD value has been, moving up decently in this sort of parallel channel right here, I would say. Okay. So something, let's put it like this. All right. And then let's draw it like this. this one back a little bit more. So I wouldn't really call that a rising wedge or anything. I'd say that's definitely more of a parallel channel. But for the most part, EOS has been moving up in this channel very nicely. I would probably say that there's some decent amount of resistance to be broken in, the middle of this area right here. Let's see where that is. So anywhere between this region right here. This is probably all going to be a bit of choppiness for EOS, and you can see it's trying to grind through it. But once it does, I would say that it's got its targets all the way to $8 or $9. Okay, so do keep that one in mind too. You can see volume sort of dropping off for EOS too. Let's check out the VPVR. Okay, yeah, this is perfect because as you can see, this middle area, the EQ of this little block right here, EQ meaning the equilibrium, you could see that we're struggling right through the middle of it right now. Once you break through it, I mean, as I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of resistance, all the way up. Okay, so this is really the area that EOS needs to step up, the EOS bulls need to step up and push on through. Okay, so once it gets through, say, 580, 590, should be home free all the way to $9 or $10. All right, something to keep an eye on. Okay, last but not least, let's take a look at total 2, the market cap of the alt markets, excluding BTC. And as I had mentioned that, we were trying really hard to break through this sort of ascending trend line, this descending trend line, both of which, pose support and resistance in two different ways. But now you can see prices are dumping off because Bitcoin is taking off. Now, if price does not hold at this level right here, I would probably say it's going to come down to this mcap support, which is somewhere around 62, 63 billion, all the way down to 60. Okay, so that could definitely be a big $10 billion drop, which might actually go all into Bitcoin probably, or some into the top alts such as Ethereum, BCH, and Litecoin. So careful on your alt trades. It's going to be a pretty rough, rocky area, and one of the alt trades that I'm looking forward to is this one right here. RVN is sort of coming down to some critical areas that I'm watching. Probably anywhere between here and here is where I'm hoping to catch a bounce in this region. These alts have been getting destroyed for a little while. I don't expect this to be the case because we are coming up on consensus. This is usually the time where people FOMO into different coins. XLM and EOS and Ethereum are probably some of your leaders. Tezos is the one that we mentioned in our long-term hold. Ravencoin is one I'm just watching purely for technicals. Unfortunately, it's got so much resistance on the way down that it has to sort of break through this area first. But as you can see, I mean, if it starts bottoming out right here, this will be the area to pick it up. Okay, so I'm definitely going to consider, if prices look decent in terms of BTC and the rest of the market, I'm going to consider Ravencoin and EOS as some of my trades. All right. I hope this helps. If you're not part of the Cryptosomniac Advantage program, please do join, guys. It's a wonderful community. So hope to see you guys soon. All right. Cheers.